On our dates, she always ordered 4-3. Oops, I ordered too much. Why don't we invite Kevin? 2. On my birthday, she bought 2 gifts. Oops, I bought 1 too many. Why don't we give it to Kevin? After a while, I grew used to it and simply accepted that as my new normal. On the day of our wedding attire fitting, Amanda suddenly reached out and stopped me. Lee, this suit I designed for you is over there. This one is for the best man. I had it made for Kevin. I looked up at the best man suit in front of me. It was sharply tailored with clean, structured lines and tiny silver crystals set into the collar. The groom suit she had left for me, meanwhile, was plain, wrinkled, and stained. I finally decided to leave her at that moment. Had given the only bespoke suit she could commission to Kevin Berg. There was nothing left in this relationship worth holding on to. I quietly looked at my phone and sent a message to my former Professor Lawrence Hindle, who lived far away in Westmere. Dr. Hindle, does your institute still have an opening for me? When Amanda Gordon realized I was upset, expression darkened. Kevin has been your best friend for 10 years. You wouldn't deny him the role of best man, would you? I'm sorry, Lee. I don't know what I did to upset you. Kevin Berg made a grand magnanimous gesture, but if it bothers you, you can have the best man suit. With that, he set aside the bespoke suit and retreated to the corner of the couch where he sat sulking by himself. Amanda frowned and shot me a cold glance. Without hesitation, she hurried over to comfort him. Evan, that suit was made especially for you. I spent 3 whole months on it and attached every crystal by hand. How could you just refuse to wear it? Exactly. The new sales associate chimed in. Able to stay silent any longer? Miss Gordon designed this suit especially for you. From the initial sketches to the final tailoring, she spent nearly 6 months on it. Mr. Emerson, Miss Gordon clearly loves you very much. Please don't get upset with her. I froze for a moment. The new associate had apparently mistaken Kevin for me. She ignored Amanda's warning look and continued enthusiastically. Just look at the best man suit your friend got. It's second-hand, wrinkled, and filthy. No one would take it for free. Compared to that, it's obvious that you're the man Miss Gordon truly loves. As soon as she said that, the entire room went dead silent. Sensing that something was off, the sales associate stepped forward and gave my shoulder a solemn pat. Don't be upset. I was only telling the truth to make your friend feel better. It wouldn't look good if the groom was in a bad mood. As his best man, surely you can be the bigger person here. I smiled bitterly, but I'm the groom. The sales associate froze. Once she realized the magnitude of her mistake, she turned to Amanda with a terrified expression. Amanda waved her hand with impatience. Dismissed her. Don't listen to the new hire's nonsense. I personally chose that suit for you. The creases aren't a sign of wear. They're part of my exclusive design. I ignored her and sent another message. Dr. Hindle, the earliest flight I can get leaves tomorrow night. Can I come see you? Did you hear what I just said? Amanda's last shred of patience disappeared. He stepped forward and snatched my phone out of my hand. Then she coldly tossed it onto the far end of the couch. Lee, will you grow up? Every time you get upset, you give me the silent treatment. How are you supposed to be a good husband like this? Looking at the cold expression on her face, I scoffed, me giving her the silent treatment after every argument. Amanda was always the one who disappeared. She ignored my texts and refused to answer my calls. Then a few days later she would reappear as though nothing had happened and ask, "What are we having for dinner today?" If you think I would make such a terrible husband, you should marry Kevin. Then with that I turned to leave. However, Kevin stepped in front of me before I could. He furrowed his brow. His eyes were moist as he put on a wounded expression. Lee, you've really misunderstood us. There's absolutely nothing going on between Amanda and me. That sales associate was talking nonsense. Your suit is the bespoke one. I looked Kevin up and down. He had a Hermes necklace, a Louis Vuitton crossbody bag, and limited edition sneakers on. Not one of them was something an intern making barely $2,000 a month could afford. My gaze drifted toward Amanda. I caught the unmistakable glimmer of affection and indulgence in her eyes. A sharp pain pierced my chest. We had been together for 7 years, yet the most expensive gift she had ever given me was a $30 electric razor. Let him go if he doesn't learn to rein in that temper. It's going to cost him one day. Amanda waved dismissively and went back to helping Kevin try on the suit. He had completely forgotten that I was her groom. Amanda, don't blame Lee. He's been overwhelmed with wedding preparations la tele. He didn't mean to throw a tantrum. Besides, it's pouring outside. You can't send your groom out there and let him get soaked. Kevin sounded as though he were defending me, but he never once stopped trying on the suit. The rain outside grew heavier by the minute. Amanda knew full well that I'd come to this remote suburb in her car and had no way to get back on my own. Still, she said, a good soaking will teach him a lesson. Eve spoiled him so much that he thinks he can get away with anything. Now he's even jealous of his best friend. After hearing that, I stopped hesitating and walked out into the pouring rain. 15 minutes later, Kevin posted an update on social media, writing in Miss Gordon's Rolls-Royce Wraith again. Didn't get a drop of rain on me. What a shame. I knew that car's interior all too well. Countless times, my best friend had been the one sitting beside Amanda in the passenger seat. I had never thought anything of it. I used to think I was lucky that my girlfriend and best friend got along so well. But every time I gave them the benefit of the doubt, they only pushed the boundaries further. This time, I neither liked his post nor left a comment. After walking through the pouring rain for nearly an hour, I finally made it home. Before I could change out of my soaked ice-cold clothes, I received a text from Amanda. Why aren't you here yet? You're taking forever. Kevin and I are going to start eating without you. I finally recalled that the three of us had agreed to have dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant after the fitting. Hurry up. You always keep us waiting. It was not the first time something like this had happened. Whenever we made plans to go to dinner together, Kevin always caught a ride with Amanda, so they inevitably arrived first. Meanwhile, I had to travel alone from my office, which was nearly 10 miles away. By the time I finally arrived, they would already be halfway through dinner. The meal they had ordered for me would have gone cold. Amanda never showed the slightest concern for how that made me feel. Kevin has a sensitive stomach, so we just started without you. If you're going to sit there sulking, we won't bother saving your food next time. Normally, such a message would leave me quietly crushed. However, I was too proud to admit that I was hurt. I would simply sit down in silence and eat the cold meal they had saved for me. This time, however, I calmly locked my phone. I did not send her a reply. I would not be showing up to that wedding. Kevin could have the bride and the wedding all to himself. Past midnight, Amanda was still not home. I lay curled up in bed beneath 3 blankets. Yet I could not stop shivering, unable to bear it any longer. I called her in a hoarse voice and asked her to pick up some cold medicine on her way home. There were a few seconds of silence before she replied coldly. The fact that you're still talking to me on the phone now means your condition isn't that bad. You're just trying to trick me into coming home. Loud music and cheerful voices filled the background. Wherever she was, the party was clearly in full swing. Kevin suddenly took the phone from her and began explaining in a slightly drunken voice. Don't worry, buddy. Amanda's with me. I'll keep an eye on her and make sure no other guys get near her. As though worried I would not believe him, he even sent me a photo. In the picture, several fresh hickeys stood out on Amanda's neck. Relax, buddy. I already made sure everyone knows she's taken. You can check the marks yourself when she gets home. I only did this for you. You're not going to be mad about it, are you? I smiled bitterly and shook my head. Not at all. After ending the call, I forced myself out of bed and packed up all my belongings. Just as I put the last piece of clothing in the suitcase, a message arrived from overseas. Lawrence's reply was brief. Yes, come as soon as you can. Seeing that I booked the earliest flight available, my head was foggy and heavy as I drifted in and out of sleep. When I finally managed to fall asleep again, furious scream jolted me awake. Lee, what is the meaning of this? Amanda yanked me out of bed and dragged me into the living room. Pointing at my suitcase, she demanded answers. Why did you pack your bags? Where are you going? You do know we're getting married next week, right? What are you trying to pull now? I fell silent for a moment before saying it. Means exactly what it looks like. Amanda, we're done. She acted as though she had not heard me. Her voice barely contained her fury. Kevin remembered you wanting to try that restaurant. Since you didn't show up, he specifically asked me to bring food back for you. Here you are pretending to be sick and packing your bags. What? What? Are you trying to squeeze more money out of me before the wedding? I frowned. Amanda, have you lost your mind? That's exactly what you're doing, Amanda said coldly. Kevin told me your family originally expected me to put $120,000 in your name. Before the wedding he had to talk them down to $12,000. Lee, I may be rich, but I'm not stupid. With $120,000, I could find someone far more handsome and successful than you. Why would I settle for you? My lips curled into a sneer as my body trembled with rage. Do you think I'm after your money? In all these years, everything you've ever given me combined is worth less than a pair of Kevin sneakers. I still stayed. Do you honestly think money is what I wanted from you? She turned her head away and replied coldly. There you go. Keeping score again. You still claimed to not care about money. At that moment, I let out a bitter, incredulous laugh. I could only blame myself. I had loved Amanda so desperately that I had given her chance after chance to hurt me. Enough. Amanda, we're done with that. I grabbed my suitcase and strode out. I could not tell whether she had not heard me end things or whether she had simply grown used to dismissing every breakup attempt as just another part of my silent treatment. None of that mattered any longer. I was done with her that afternoon. While I was at the mall, buying supplies to take with me to Westmere, I turned a corner and ran into Amanda and Kevin. Kevin was pushing the shopping cart while Amanda walked beside him with her arm linked through his. The sight of them startled me so badly that I accidentally knocked over a display of gift soaps. The entire display collapsed with a loud crash, sending bars of soap scattering across the floor. The moment they saw me, they sprang apart as if they were shocked. Lee, don't get the wrong idea. Amanda just wanted me to pick up some things for the wedding with her. As Kevin hurried to explain, he pointed to the wedding favor bags and new set of bed linens in their cart. Why are you bothering to explain yourself to him? He's being ridiculously petty. It was only a suit. How long is he going to keep sulking over it? With that, Amanda defiantly took Kevin's hand and brazenly walked with him toward the checkout. As I watched them walk away together, it felt as though someone had stabbed me deep in my heart. I eyed repeatedly, told her that there was too much wedding shopping for me to handle alone and asked her to shop with me. She had refused every time. She would even berate me for it. I make hundreds of dollars an hour. Do you expect me to waste my time shopping with you? Are you an idiot? In spite of that, she had somehow found the time to go shopping with Kevin for the things we needed for our wedding. When I walked out of the mall, I saw that Kevin had thoughtfully loaded everything into the trunk. He slipped naturally into the driver's seat, rolled down the window, and waved at me. Lee, get in. Wherever you're going, we'll give you a ride. When I remained where I was, a look of realization dawned on his face. Oh, didn't you know about this new car that Amanda bought for me? Sorry about that, since I drive her around all the time. She gave it to me as a reward. Don't be jealous. Amanda rolled her eyes at me. If he doesn't want a ride, let him be. I'm not going to cuddle him. He's a grown man. Yeah, he sulks over everything like a jealous little boy. With that, the engine roared to life and the car sped off. A cloud of exhaust fumes washed over me. 2 hours later, I arrived at the international airport. I was about to walk to the departure lounge when I received a message from Amanda's mother. Rebecca, Gordon Lee, where are you? Let's have dinner. The terminal at the international airport was bathed in the cool, sterile glow of overhead LED strips. Announcements echoed in several languages, blending into a low hum that sounded like a collective sigh. I stood near the entrance of the departure lounge, my fingers resting on the handle of my single suitcase. My phone buzzed in my hand again. Rebecca, Gordon Lee, where are you? Let's have dinner. I stared at the name on the screen. Rebecca Gordon, Amanda's mother, was perhaps the only person in that family who had ever treated me with a shred of basic human decency. She was a stern, sharp-eyed businesswoman who ran the Gordon Group's real estate arm, but unlike her daughter, she valued competence and quiet dignity. I swiped the screen and brought the phone to my ear. Lee. Rebecca's crisp voice came through the speaker. I heard Amanda dragged you to the suburb for the fitting today. My assistant told me you walked out in the rain. Where are you now? Come to the club. I had the chef prepare the sea base you like. I looked through the floor-to-ceiling glass windows of the terminal. Out on the tarmac, The silver body of a Boeing 777 shimmered under the floodlights, its engines idling with a low, vibrating hum. Mrs. Gordon, I said, my voice hoarse from the chill that had settled deep into my lungs. Thank you for the invitation, but I won't be able to make it. There was a slight pause on the other end. Rebecca was too sharp not to notice the flat, lifeless quality in my tone. Did you two fight again? Lee, Amanda is spoiled. I know that better than anyone. But the wedding is in 8 days. You need to hold your ground, not run away. A faint, bitter smile touched my lips. I'm not running away, Mrs. Gordon. I'm stepping down. What do you mean? I've canceled the wedding, I said calmly, watching the flight crew board the jet bridge. The bespoke suit she designed for our wedding was made for Kevin. The car she bought with her firm's account was given to Kevin. Even the hickeys on her neck tonight were put there by Kevin so everyone knows she's taken. The silence on the line was absolute. Rebecca's sharp intake of breath was crystal clear. She told me I was keeping score. I continued softly. She said I was staying with her for her money. So I left her the apartment, the ring, and the wedding favor bags she bought with him today. You don't have to worry about me being a burden to the Gordon family anymore. Lee, where are you right now? Rebecca's voice had lost its usual corporate composure. There was a sudden rustle of papers, the sound of a chair scraping back. Stay where you are. I'm calling my driver. I'm at gate 42, I said. My flight to Westmere leaves in 20 minutes. Westmere, she gasped. You're leaving the country? My advisor, Dr. Hindle, offered me a senior research fellowship at the Institute of Advanced Materials. It's what I should have done 4 years ago, before I put my career on hold to manage Amanda's supply chain. Lee, wait. Goodbye, Mrs. Gordon. Thank you for the meals over the years. I hung up, pulled out the SIM card from my phone, snapped it cleanly in half, between my thumb and forefinger, and dropped the pieces into a nearby recycling bin. When I stepped through the boarding gate and onto the jet bridge, the heavy steel door closed behind me with a solid, echoing thud. The air inside the cabin smelled of recycled oxygen and ozone. I sat down in my seat by the window, leaned my head against the cold glass, and closed my eyes. For the first time in 7 years, my chest didn't ache. At 8:30 p.m., Amanda Gordon walked into the private dining room at Latoile, her heels clicking against the parquet floor. Kevin Berg walked beside her, his arm loosely draped around her shoulder, wearing the bespoke suit Amanda had spent 6 months tailoring. The silver crystals on his collar caught the warm candlelight of the restaurant. Mom, Amanda said, sliding into a leather booth and tossing her designer clutch onto the table. Why did you call us out so urgently? Kevin and I were in the middle of picking out the flower arrangements. Rebecca Gordon sat across from them. She hadn't touched her wine. Her hands were folded on the tablecloth, her face pale and icy. Her eyes drifted from Amanda's face down to the subtle, makeup-covered red marks on her daughter's throat, and then to Kevin, who was smiling like a cat that had just swallowed a canary. Where is Lee? Rebecca asked quietly. Amanda rolled her eyes, waving a hand dismissively at the waiter who approached with menus. Sigh. Don't even start with him, Mom. He's throwing another one of his childish tantrums. He walked out in the middle of the fitting, walked home in the rain like some dramatic martyr, and then packed a bag. He even refused to let us give him a ride when we saw him at the mall, Kevin added, putting on a helpless, wounded expression. Aunt Rebecca, I tried to mediate between them, I really did. But Lee's jealousy has gotten completely out of hand lately. He's upset because Amanda gave me the best man suit. Rebecca looked at Kevin. Her eyes were so sharp that Kevin's smile faltered slightly. The best man suit, Rebecca repeated, her tone deceptively mild. The bespoke silk wool blend with the hand-embroidered lapels that took 6 months to commission. It suits Kevin much better, Amanda said defensively, adjusting her napkin. Lee is too thin and lacks posture. He'd look ridiculous in a fitted cut anyway. I gave him a classic vintage-style suit instead. It's timeless. It was second-hand, wrinkled, and covered in mildew stains from the warehouse storage, Rebecca corrected, her voice dropping an octave. I saw the invoice from your boutique this morning, Amanda. Amanda's face flushed slightly. So what? It's just a piece of cloth. He's getting married to me. He gets the Gordon family's name and resources. Why does he care so much about a suit? Rebecca slowly picked up her glass of water, took a small sip, and set it down. He doesn't care about the suit anymore, Amanda, Rebecca said. Because he's not marrying you. Amanda let out a loud, mocking laugh. Oh please. He says that every time he gets mad. He'll sit in that tiny apartment for 2 days, realize he can't survive without my network, and come crawling back to ask what I want for dinner. He's at 30,000 feet right now, Rebecca said flatly. He called me from gate 42 20 minutes ago. His flight to Westmere just departed. The laughter died in Amanda's throat. She froze, her fork hovering an inch above her plate. What did you say? He snapped his SIM card, Rebecca continued, staring straight into her daughter's eyes. He accepted an appointment at the Westmere Institute of Advanced Materials. He surrendered his rights to your joint lease, left his engagement ring on your vanity, and left. That's impossible, Amanda sneered, though her fingers tightened around her cutlery until her knuckles turned white. He doesn't have the money for an international ticket. He makes 40 grand a year at that university lab. He didn't use your money, Amanda, Rebecca said coldly. He used the relocation stipend provided by Dr. Lawrence Hindle, the man who has been trying to recruit Lee for 4 years, the same Dr. Hindle whose patents supply 30% of your boutique's high-tech fabrics. Kevin chimed in, trying to laugh it off. Aunt Rebecca, Lee is just bluffing. Probably bought a ticket to a neighboring city to scare Amanda. Shut up, Kevin, Rebecca snapped, turning her lethal gaze onto him. You've been freeloading off my daughter's vanity for 2 years. Do you honestly think I don't know who authorized the $300,000 expense account for your marketing position? Kevin's face went white. He shrank back into the leather booth. Amanda stood up abruptly, her chair screeching against the floor. He's at the apartment. He has to be. He's playing games with me. She grabbed her purse and sprinted out of the restaurant, ignoring the stares of the wealthy patrons. 10 minutes later, Amanda slammed open the door to the apartment she and Lee had shared for 3 years. Lee, she yelled, marching into the foyer. Stop this ridiculous act right now. If you come out right now and apologize to my mother, I'll overlook. She stopped. The apartment was pitch black. When she flipped the light switch, the living room looked strangely hollow. Lee hadn't just packed a suitcase. He had stripped the apartment of everything that belonged to him. His technical books were gone from the study shelves. His minimalist art prints were taken down from the hallway, leaving faint, clean rectangles on the slightly dusty wall. His coffee mug, the plain black ceramic one he used every morning, was missing from the drying rack. On the dining table sat a single white envelope. Amanda walked over, her breathing ragged, her hands shaking as she tore the envelope open. Inside were 3 things. 1. The silver and jade engagement ring she had bought him 2 years ago, the cheapest option in the catalog, while she had bought Kevin a limited edition Rolex the same month. 2. A printed itemized spreadsheet listing every single expense Lee had paid for during their 7 years together, from grocery bills to her boutiques. Initial utility deposits, totaling $84,200. 3. A short, handwritten note in Lee's clean, precise script. Amanda, the debt is settled. The suit is Kevin's. The bride is Kevin's. Don't look for me. You won't find me. Lee. Amanda stared at the paper. A strange, suffocating tightness gripped her chest, making it suddenly hard to draw breath. She pulled out her phone and dialed Lee's number. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. She opened WeChat and typed a message. Where are you? Call me right now. A red exclamation point popped up immediately. Message failed to send. You are no longer contacts with this user. Amanda stood alone in the quiet, empty dining room, the faint smell of exhaust, fumes and rain still lingering on her clothes, holding a piece of paper that weighed heavier than lead. The air in Westmere was crisp, carrying the sharp scent of ocean salt and pine. When I stepped out of the arrivals hall at Westmere International Airport, a tall man in a navy wool coat was waiting near the terminal barrier, holding a simple wooden sign with my name on it. Dr. Lawrence Hindle looked largely unchanged from his university days, thin, silver-haired, with wire-rimmed glasses and eyes that radiated sharp, uncompromising intellect. Lee, Dr. Hindle said, stepping forward and extending a warm, solid hand. Welcome to Westmere. Professor, I said, shaking his hand. Thank you for taking me in on such short notice. Hindle took my suitcase with effortless strength and gestured toward his modest Volvo parked outside. Nonsense. I should be thinking whatever foolish distraction kept you in that small town for 4 years. The Department of Biomaterials has been stagnant without someone who actually understands molecular weave synthesis. As we drove down the coastal highway toward the institute, Hindle didn't ask about Amanda, the wedding, or why I had arrived with a single suitcase and a broken phone. He was a scientist. He judged men by their output, not their personal drama. Your lab is already prepped, Hindle said, adjusting his rearview mirror. We received the research grant from the European Science Foundation last Tuesday. 8 million euros over 3 years. You'll be leading the team on thermal adaptive textiles. I looked out the window at the rugged cliffs and the dark, vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. For 7 years, my day had consisted of managing Amanda's mood swings, coordinating Kevin's luxury deliveries, picking up her dry cleaning, and playing the quiet, background fiancé whose existence was an inconvenience to her. High society aesthetic. Now sitting in this quiet car, talking about molecular structures and research. Grants, I felt a long-buried part of my brain waking up. When do I start? I asked. Hindle smiled faintly, stepping on the gas. Tomorrow at 7. Welcome back to the real world, Dr. Emerson. Meanwhile, 6,000 miles away, the Gordon family was descending into chaos. It was the morning of what was supposed to be Lee and Amanda's wedding rehearsal. Dinner. The ballroom at the Grand Hyatt was fully decorated. White orchids hung from the ceiling, crystal chandeliers threw sparkling light across 50 linen-draped tables, and an orchestra was tuning their instruments in the corner. Amanda sat in the bridal dressing room, wearing her white silk robe, staring blankly into the vanity mirror. Her phone had been ringing nonstop for 3 days. Miss Gordon, her lead event planner said anxiously, stepping into the room. The catering supervisor needs the final headcount. And Mr. Emerson's suit still hasn't been checked in. Is he dressing at home? Amanda didn't answer. Her eyes were bloodshot. She hadn't slept more than 2 hours a night since Tuesday. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the empty dining room table, the clean rectangles on the wall where Lee's art used to hang, and the cold, flat line in his note. The suit is Kevin's. The bride is Kevin's. He'll be here. Amanda rasped, her voice dry. He's just testing me. He wants me to beg. Kevin stepped into the dressing room, wearing his custom suit, holding 2 glasses of champagne. He looked slightly nervous, but tried to maintain his easygoing grin. Amanda, baby, Kevin said, setting a glass near her makeup tray. Don't stress. If Lee is really being this petty and decides to skip the rehearsal, we can just tell the press he caught a sudden fever. I can stand in his place for the rehearsal walkthrough so the media doesn't print rumors. Amanda turned her head slowly, looking at Kevin. For the first time in 10 years, she looked at him without the rose-tinted glasses of indulgence. She looked at the silver crystals on his collar. Crystals she had spent 3 months hand-sewing while Lee sat alone in his office working on her company's logistics software. She looked at the Hermes necklace around his neck that had cost her $12,000. She looked at his soft, uncalloused hands that had never worked a hard day in their life. And then she remembered Lee's hands. Hands that were rough from laboratory chemicals. Hands that had carried her heavy luggage through storm after storm. Hands that had held a $30 electric razor like it was a sacred treasure. Because it came from her. Stand in his place? Amanda whispered, her voice dangerously quiet. Yeah, Kevin said, missing the ice in her tone. I mean, someone has to walk down the aisle with you for the camera blocking. It'll look better if it's me than some random usher. Get out, Amanda said. Kevin blinked. What? Get out of my dressing room, Kevin, Amanda said, her voice rising into a sharp, trembling shriek. Take off that suit. Take it off right now. Amanda, what's wrong with you? Kevin stumbled back, startled. I was just trying to help. You're not helping. You've never helped. Amanda screamed, grabbing a crystal perfume bottle from the vanity and hurling it at his head. The bottle shattered against the doorframe, splashing expensive jasmine oil everywhere. You took his suit. You took his car. You took his place on every date we ever had. Amanda wept hysterically, clutching her head with both hands as she collapsed onto her knees on the plush carpet. And I was stupid enough to let you. I threw away the only man who ever loved me for a parasitic leech who can't even pay his own rent. Kevin stood by the door, his face twisting into an ugly, sneering mask as his polite persona di salve. Don't blame this on me, Amanda. Kevin spat, wiping a drop of perfume from his cheek. You were the one who bought me those things. You were the one who left him in the rain. You enjoyed having 2 men spin around your pinky finger. Don't act like a saint now just because the quiet dog finally bit back. He turned on his heel and slammed the door behind him. Amanda lay on the carpet of her dressing room, surrounded by the scent of shattered jasmine perfume and cold white silk, sobbing until her lungs burned. Lee was really gone, and no amount of her money could bring him back. 6 months passed. Winter in Westmere was brutal, but inside the cleanroom of the Institute of Advanced Materials, the temperature was strictly regulated at 21 degrees Celsius. I stood behind a triple-pane observation window, wearing a white lab coat, watching a robotic arm deposit microlayers of graphene onto a flexible ceramic substrate. Dr. Emerson, my lead research associate, Dr. Clara Thorne, called out from her terminal. The stress test results for sample 4B just came in. Tensile strength increased by 240%. Thermal conductivity remains stable, up to 600 degrees. I looked at the digital readout on the wall monitor. The curve was flawless. Publish the preliminary data to the European Journal, I said, handing her my tablet, and send the patent filing to Dr. Hindle's legal team before noon. Clara smiled warmly, a brilliant, sharp woman who had earned her double doctorate from Cambridge at 26. The international press is calling this the biggest breakthrough in smart textiles since Kevlar Lee. The World Design and Engineering Summit in Paris next month is going to be your coronation. It's the team's work, Clara, I replied modestly. Nonsense, she laughed, picking up her coffee mug. You spent 16 hours a day in this lab for 6 months straight. I've never seen anyone work with such terrifying focus. Work had been my sanctuary. In Westmere, my days were clean and predictable. I woke up at 6, went for a run along the coastal cliffs, worked 12 hours at the institute, ate dinner with Dr. Hindle or my research team, and slept deeply without nightmares. My name had begun to appear in international trade journals. The Emerson weave, the proprietary structural method I had developed, was being hailed as a revolutionary advance for high-end aerospace wear, surgical implants, and haute couture fashion. My past life in that small suburban city felt like a faint, unpleasant dream I had dreamed a long time ago, until a letter arrived from the Gordon Group's legal department. It didn't come to my personal email. I had blocked every address associated with Amanda. It was delivered directly to Dr. Hindle's executive desk. Hindle handed me the heavy parchment envelope over morning coffee in his glass-walled office. It seems your former associates are having supply chain difficulties, Hindle said smoothly, stirring his tea. The Gordon Group's fashion division applied for a commercial license to use our new patent. Their CEO, Rebecca Gordon, attached a personal letter for you. I opened the envelope and pulled out the letter. Rebecca's handwriting was elegant, but slightly strained. Lee, I am writing this not as Amanda's mother, but as a businesswoman who respects your work. Gordon Design House is facing severe financial penalties due to a breach of contract with our European distributors. Amanda's last 3 collections failed terribly because the technical fabrics we use suffered from structural tearing, a problem you used to solve quietly behind the scenes. Amanda has fired Kevin. He attempted to sue her for breach of employment contract, but my legal team settled with him for a nominal fee and evicted him from the city. My daughter has been hospitalized twice for severe depression. She spends her days sitting in your old study, going through your old notebooks. She knows she ruined everything, Lee, but the company employs 400 people whose livelihoods depend on this new license. If you are willing to review our licensing application, I will personally guarantee that Amanda will not be present at any corporate negotiations. Sincerely, Rebecca Gordon. I read the letter twice, my expression remaining perfectly impassive. Are you going to grant them the license? Hindle asked, looking at me over his glasses. I folded the letter neatly, placed it back in the envelope, and set it on Hindle's desk. Reject it, I said flatly. Hindle raised an eyebrow. On what grounds? Their financial standing is sufficient. On the grounds of technical incompatibility, I said, picking up my mug. The Gordon Design House specializes in surface aesthetics and hand embroidery. They lack the engineering precision required to process the Emerson weave. Giving them this license would compromise our patent's integrity. Hindle let out a soft, delighted chuckle. A purely technical assessment. I approve. I'll have legal send the rejection notice today. I nodded, standing up to head back to my lab. I didn't feel hatred for Amanda, nor did I feel joy at her company's collapse. To feel hatred, you still have to care about the person enough to let them occupy space in your mind. And Amanda Gordon had become a total stranger to me. The Grand Palais in Paris was an ocean of light, glass, and haute couture elegance. The annual International Advanced Design and Materials Summit was the premier gathering for global luxury brands, materials scientists, and high fashion houses. Over 2,000 delegates filled the historic glass dome, surrounded by interactive displays, champagne bars, and runway stages. I sat in the VIP green room behind the main auditorium, wearing a custom-tailored, midnight blue bespoke tuxedo designed by Westmere's master tailor. The lines were sharp, the fabric subtle, and the silver cufflinks were engraved with the emblem of the Hindle Institute. Clara walked in, wearing an elegant dark red gown, holding 2 glasses of sparkling mineral water. 5 minutes until your keynote speech, Dr. Emerson, she smiled, handing me a glass. The front row is packed. Representatives from LVMH, Kering, and every major European design house are waiting. Is Dr. Hindle in his seat? I asked. Front and center, looking like a proud grandfather, she teased. I adjusted my cuffs, checked my presentation clicker, and walked out toward the wings of the main stage. As I waited in the shadows behind the black velvet curtains, my eyes swept across the vast, brightly lit auditorium. Sitting in the 4th row, wearing an ill-fitting, out-of-season gray gown was Amanda Gordon. She looked ghastly. Her face was gaunt, her cheekbones sharp and hollow, her eyes rimmed with red. She wore no jewelry, a stark contrast to her former habit of wearing diamond chokers to every event. Beside her sat Rebecca Gordon, looking aged and tired, holding a thick folder of business proposals. Amanda was staring frantically at the stage, her hands clutching a worn leather notebook in her lap. It was my old university notebook, the one I had used 6 years ago when I first started researching high-tensile thread weaves. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice boomed across the auditorium in flawless French and English. Please welcome the recipient of this year's grand prize for material innovation, lead scientist of the Hindle Institute, Dr. Lee Emerson. Thunderous applause erupted across the hall. I stepped out from behind the curtain into the blinding center spotlight. The applause surged louder. Through the glare of the stage lights, I saw Amanda's body go completely rigid. Her mouth opened in a silent, horrified gasp. The leather notebook in her lap slipped from her trembling fingers, hitting the carpeted floor with a dull thud. She stared at me, at my posture, at the bespoke suit that fit my broad shoulders flawlessly, at the absolute authority and calm composure radiating from the man standing at the podium. This was not the quiet, submissive boy who stood in the rain outside a suburban fitting shop. This was not the man who ate cold meals at midnight while she partied with Kevin. This was a world-class scientist receiving the highest honor in his field. I adjusted the microphone, leaned forward, and began my speech. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 7 years ago, I began researching the structural integrity of synthetic fibers. I believed then, as I do now, that true value is not defined by surface decoration or fragile crystals pasted onto a collar. In the fourth row, Amanda buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking violently as she wept without a sound. My voice remained clear, steady, and resonant, echoing under the great glass dome of Paris, carrying not a single trace of the boy who used to wait for her in the cold. The post-summit reception was held in the Grand Gallery of the Palais. Waiters in white jackets passed around trays of vintage champagne and caviar canapes. Major industry titans surrounded me, offering business cards, partnership proposals, and invitations to speak at universities across Europe. I stood beside Dr. Hindle and Clara, politely declining private consultancy offers when a familiar voice broke through the chatter behind me. Lee. The surrounding executives turned their heads in confusion. I turned around slowly, holding my champagne glass. Amanda stood 5 feet away. She had bypassed the security cordon, her hair messy, her makeup ruined by tears. She looked small, frail, and utterly out of place among the glittering elite of Paris. Behind her, Rebecca Gordon stood near a marble pillar, her face filled with deep sorrow, making no move to stop her daughter. Lee, please, Amanda whimpered, taking a shaky step toward me. Her hands reached out, her fingers trembling as she tried to reach my sleeve. Please, talk to me for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Clara stepped slightly in front of me, her brows furrowed. Ma'am, this is a private VIP reception. If you need to schedule a meeting with Dr. Emerson's office. I'm his fiancée. Amanda shrieked, her voice cracking loudly, drawing the attention of dozens of nearby delegates and security guards. I'm his wife. Lee, tell them who I am. A wave of low, shocked murmurs swept through the crowd. I looked at Amanda. I didn't scowl. I didn't raise my voice. My expression remained as smooth and cold as a sheet of ice. Miss Gordon, I said, my voice calm, professional, and loud enough for everyone in the gallery to hear clearly. You are mistaken. My name is Dr. Lee Emerson. I have no fiancé, and I certainly have no wife. Lee, no. Don't do this to me. Amanda wept openly now, dropping to her knees, right there on the polished marble floor of the Palais, uncaring of the dozens of cameras pointing at her. I was wrong. I was blind. Kevin was a liar. He stole from me. He cheated on me. He used me. I kicked him out. I burned his suit. She crawled forward 2 inches, reaching for my leather shoes. I spent 3 months looking for you. I went to your old university. I went to your hometown. Lee, I love you. I've always loved you. I just didn't realize it until you left. The crowd gasped. Several international journalists were already recording the scene on their phones. I stepped back, easily avoiding her hand. You didn't love me, Miss Gordon, I said, looking down at her weeping, pathetic figure with absolute detachment. You loved having an obedient servant who managed your life for free while you played high society games with your lover. He wasn't my lover. Nothing happened, she sobbed, clutching her head. It doesn't matter whether anything happened or not, I said softly. What matters is that for 7 years, you made me feel worthless. You gave my custom suit to another man. You gave my place in your car to another man. You left me in the rain, and you told me I was petty for feeling hurt. I took a slow sip of my champagne, then set the glass on a passing waiter's tray. I am no longer petty, Miss Gordon, I said. Because I no longer care whether you live or die. Lee. No. Please. Amanda screamed as two heavy-set French security officers finally stepped forward, grabbing her by her arms and hauling her to her feet. Madam, you must leave, the guard said sternly, dragging her back toward the exit. Lee. I have your notebook. I still have your notebook. Amanda wailed, her voice echoing off the high gilded ceilings as she thrashed against the guard's grip. Look at me. Please look at me one last time. I didn't look at her. I turned back to Dr. Hindle and the CEO of LVMH, who were watching me with quiet, profound respect. My apologies for the disruption, gentlemen, I said, offering a polite, effortless smile. Now, as we were discussing regarding the thermal expansion metrics, outside the Grand Palais, the cold Parisian rain began to pour down against the glass roof, tapping a steady, rhythmic cadence against the night. Inside, the lights were warm, the champagne was cold, and my future stretched out wide, brilliant, and entirely gloriously my own.